Say something real.
I said, say something, woman. Why we gotta go through this every day?
Good morning. Good morning. What's happening, family? Welcome to the show this morning. Oh my God. It is Michelle Bryant here at WNOV 860 AM 106.5 FM. You are listening to Say Something Real. I'm sorry, bruh. I beg your pardon.
That is the name of the show.
Who
Say something real. You gotta say something.
Who you talking
I'm
to?
just saying, woman.
You know, you got your little heating pad on.
Hey,
You feeling
yeah.
strong this morning.
You understand?
Jiggy,
I'm
if
coming
you
back.
will. Like, Jermaine, good morning, man.
Good morning, love.
Don't love me.
Oh, okay. Oh, no, love me, man.
That's you and Angela, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't throw
All
your
right,
little
I'm gonna have
love
to
this
come up with
way.
another Billy D.
Not
Williams line for you.
interested.
What's going on, baby?
Nah,
You
none of
understand
that
me?
works.
None of it work.
I told you, I'd have seen you with a heating pad, bro. You ain't got that sexy.
Hey, well, you know what? This is the thing, though.
She heard it.
Hey, but
I
listen,
seen you in a bonnet, and I seen you with a heating
Hey,
pad.
but that's the good
It's
thing.
over.
That's the good thing, though. See,
Nothing comes.
See, you get to see how
I don't
sexiness
want to see
start.
that.
You know what I
Just
mean?
like I be telling sisters, like, hey, I know you at the house.
Mhm.
People don't want to see you looking crazy.
Listen, I need you to see all of me.
I want you to wake up like you still trying to impress
Say,
me.
wake up, Five Below so
So,
hard.
I mean, you ain't got to be like you know, going
To the
out,
ball, okay.
but you got to be presentable.
Uh,
Like your hair need to be
take me
combed.
as I am.
Your teeth need to be.
No, you got to
brushed,
take me as I
atlas.
am.
No,
Nah,
because that ain't how I got you.
You
I
know
didn't
what?
I didn't
like
get
that.
you as you were.
So you know what?
I keep saying
Next
people,
relationship I get in,
folks start looking all sideways, letting themselves look crazy. Don't
Yeah.
nobody want to see that
next relationship I
on
get
either
in,
side of the coin.
and when she wake up, if she don't look like how she looked when I met her
That's
standing
all
up,
I'm saying.
you out the door.
And I mean, that's all I'm saying. I mean, we ain't got to do the hard, but you're gonna have to put some effort into it.
All right, well
You
listen.
just can't come out and just be.
Well, when I wake up, I'm gonna wake up in a
scratching
in a three-piece suit.
And I know it's people that don't agree with me, but I don't want to see it.
Well,
What?
I'm gonna say this. I love y'all. Debo, I wanna say I appreciate you for just being the colleague that you are. You talked about me, you
Where's
pushed
this
me in the
going?
mud, but then you took care of me,
You
man.
pushed me in the mud.
Yeah, but you took care of me, man. So I'm gonna say
You so
thank you.
country.
I'm still gonna get you though, but
You took care
I
of
want
me,
to say
man.
thank you. Shell,
You
listen.
took care of me, man.
You I know,
Come on, man.
Shell, you say something real every day.
Dude, what is this speech about?
I'm
Jermaine,
just
nobody had
being
time.
nice.
What is this speech about?
I just want to say
Oh,
to the WNOV family, Michelle
We
is
don't
gonna
want you
say
to say
something real today.
we don't want you to say it.
Okay.
Good morning, Adeline. What up, Dion? Brother Dion. Hey, Shelby, how you doing, fam? All right. So, hey, Debo, how are you this morning?
Good morning, Michelle. I am fine.
There you
Just
go.
wondering where dude is going with all of that.
I know. Hey, man, I'm just
Those
setting it up.
accolades he was giving out.
Yeah, I got to give you accolades before I tell you off. So, I just want to
Jermaine, I told
butter you up, and
stop being that dude, man.
you know what?
You don't
I
have
need
to,
to, man.
You don't have to be tit for tat.
I need to, man. But I've been tit for
Sometimes
tat
let it
since.
go.
See, he needs to
TKO?
understand, Michelle.
I mean,
If it was either one of us that came in here with that heating pad yesterday, he would have lit us up. But now we wrong.
Hey, I'm just saying.
dude, I went back and listened to the show.
It was
Just so I
buzzing
could
and
see if I
carrying
could
on.
hear the buzzing. And then George calling in here tonight. I got mine from Walmart. Like, y'all got a whole club.
Where'd you get that one at, dog?
No.
I got to go to Sam's
Hey,
Club now.
But the
I'm
funniest
just
one
saying.
was
Who?
the funniest one was when Wisconsin Voices was on, and it was buzzing so loud. Joe looked at me. It was like, "Boy, he's looking for relief, ain't he?" Ooh, that was funny.
You got ribs.
Oh, that was funny.
Well, I mean, I'm glad people said what they needed to say. Well, all right.
You know, I did him a solid yesterday, Michelle,
What you do?
because when the nurses were here yesterday, they told him to get him a bag of okra, beans, or whatever, and put it in the bag and put it on his shoulder. 20 minutes on, 20 minutes off.
Yeah.
A bag of beans.
Anything cold, frozen.
Cold.
Oh,
So
frozen.
tell him put
Okay,
a cold
I got you.
compress on there
I got
versus
you, I
the
got you.
hot.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I go in the back and we had a couple bags of lima beans. I hook him up.
Why?
But the solid was
Why did we have bags of lima beans at the radio
No clue.
station? Why? That makes no
Wait,
sense whatsoever.
That was my first question I was going to ask, but I was in so much pain.
Why?
Then I went back to the back after the lima beans had kind of died off. They weren't solidly cold anymore. Bought him 2 bags of, or I had French fries up here in the bag, and he put them on there. But the solid was that I never put the camera on him with them groceries. He looked like Hunchback of Notre Dame. He had this big old hump on him.
Dude.
You know what? But
That
it's
was
just
hilarious.
something to be said for like just knowing what to do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Cold compress versus hot.
Yeah.
You got to appreciate that.
And it actually worked because today, after, leaving here and just doing treatment all night, all evening, all night, just treating and hot on, cold off, 20 minutes on, 20 minutes off, it's actually healing, and I can feel it healing. So I got more movement now than I had the other day.
Really?
Yeah, I got more movement. And
The dude says the dude that came up the stairs sideways.
Came up the stairs sideways.
Hey, sometimes you gotta.
It was sad, bro.
Sometimes you gotta slide into your future.
So Michelle said, "Let me try that." So she come up the stairs sideways.
Did it work for you?
It was difficult.
Oh, man.
I would say I give you kudos though. Well, good morning, Debo. You said you were good.
Yes, ma'am.
I just later we're gonna have to talk about why I was there frozen
Peas.
in the freezer at the radio station.
Lima beans.
Yeah,
Why?
lima beans.
Why? I don't understand.
Thank the Lord for
Clearly,
lima beans.
stuff goes on when I leave the station at 9 o'clock.
A whole party.
Evidently, and I'm not included. All right.
Truth be told, those lima beans have been there since Keon.
Jesus.
I know you.
Those are-
No, those are
Are you
Keon's lima
serious?
beans, and he got some popsicles back there. I just haven't.
Are you
I
serious?
haven't brought myself to throw it out.
Yeah, man, keep them in there, man, because I think the spirit of healing is on them lima beans.
This dude right here.
Just said
Spirit of healing.
since Keon.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
'cause
Y'all out of-
he
Y'all out of
did the
order.
pantry thing, and so he would feed. So they still back there.
Y'all out of order. But okay. All right. Well, let me say this. A lot to get to this morning. I got Tony Kearney coming in from Northcott talking about the upcoming Juneteenth parade and opportunities for vendors and entertainment, what the day will consist of. So we'll be talking to him. I think that's in the 8 o'clock hour. I got to look at the schedule. But so much happened yesterday. Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge Hannah Dugan was indicted yesterday. And she got indicted yesterday.
Yeah.
And she will be in front of the court again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that, why people are trying to understand why the indictment was necessary or how that whole thing works. And John Dietrich over at the Journal Sentinel did a great job of laying that out in the paper today. So I'm actually going to defer to his column as I talk about it this morning. Also, a lot of attention being paid to the Milwaukee Public Schools Superintendent, Brenda Casilius. She is shaking up the game. So far, she has introduced measures in the last 5 to 6 days that would see roughly about 212 positions terminated in the district. She is also creating positions, I think like 150 or so positions, filling positions that went unfilled by the previous administration. But it's garnering a lot of conversation. She got support and haters on both sides of the conversation. But let me do this first, because I got this from somebody yesterday, and I ended up talking to a couple of people. And I just want to take a second and clear this up. So there was a Facebook post that was going around yesterday in which people were talking about they had seen a breaking news announcement that Alabama A&M University had received a record-breaking $237 million donation from what they said was an outstanding alumni to build the university's dorm. Okay. People sent it to me because the individual that they showed that gave said $237 million to Alabama A&M was none other than former Wisconsin Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes. And so, I see his photo. I like, let me read this story. Alabama A&M University announced a historic and unprecedented donation of $237 million from prominent alumnus and former Wisconsin Lieutenant Governor J. Mandela Barnes, making the largest gift in the institution's history. And it just goes on into all the stuff and talks about how they're going to name possibly the residence hall after Mandela. And, I'm like, where Mandela Barnes get $237 million from? Like, what? And so, as you read through, I see some inconsistencies in the reporting, and I'm like, yeah. And then I noticed that in the title of the Facebook post, there is like some Greek letters. And I'm like, why are Greek letters in the text, in the header for this article? So then when you go down and you read the comment sections, people talk about the fact that this is a fake post, that there is some organization, somebody that's trying to generate clicks on Facebook. So, we've heard the term like clickbait and that kind of things. And so when you pull it up, like 3 different ads all just blaze across the screen, you can barely read the story. And it seems like it was targeted to Wisconsin area people, African Americans, people that would be interested in a story like that. So I just want to tell people, if you see this story on Facebook, don't bother to click it open. It is a fake story. They've done it in other situations, mentioned other universities, and it literally is some type of scam situation in which folks are trying to generate clicks so that they can sell themselves to advertisers, sell themselves to Facebook, that look, I'm getting all these clicks from different, viewers of this platform, and I should be elevated to paid status or whatever. So if you come across it or somebody sends you a story, unfortunately, they used Mandela Barnes's name in a fake story regarding Alabama A&M. So I just want to make sure that people are aware of that, because a number of people and I were talking about it yesterday, and folks were like, what is going on? But $237 million. Come on. Come on now. Just okay. Just stop it. So I just wanted to mention that. The other thing, remind people today down at City Hall is their Advocacy Day. They had the 3 sessions, and ironically, Mandela Barnes is the keynote speaker for Advocacy Day down at down at City Hall. So I think that starts around 8:00 this morning. There was no, I don't think, registration. You could just go and join, sit in on these sessions. I think they did, if I remember from yesterday's sessions on housing, it's from 9 to 2. Thank you. They did sessions on doing business with the city. It sounds like safety for your neighborhood or community. And I forgot, but I think the other one might have been housing. But so it's 3 sessions. And then again, former Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes is speaking. So just wanted to make sure I hit that real quick. So I got a break coming up in a couple of moments, but let me just say this. What's happening at NPS, we need to be paying attention to. I said in the lead up that about 212 positions are going to be cut at NPS, but they're going to be posting about 152 positions, and people that are losing their jobs in some areas can apply for jobs in other areas. But if you have not seen this extensive reporting that was done about NPS, because yesterday I didn't talk about the $500,000 that the business community has come forward with to help support some of the initiatives that are being implemented by the new superintendent. But today's article, or actually it was done yesterday, new MPS superintendent cuts 31 administrative positions in second major shakeup. And the article lays out quite succinctly that in her second major overhaul since stepping into this role, Superintendent Brenda Casilius is cutting 31 administrative positions, adding 12 different positions, she said, with streamlined operations. Employees were notified on May 12th and on yesterday that they would no longer have their jobs as of July 1st, though they are encouraged to apply for other positions that are going to be available within the district. She is doing a reorganization. If you have access to the Journal Sentinel online, there's a reorganization chart that is included in that story. But she is doing a reorganization, and she presented this plan to the school board on May 13th, which was yesterday. Now, the thing that I took particular interest to in the article that was done in the Journal Sentinel, one of the board members, Chris Fonz, because they were voting on her reorganization plan on yesterday. And he said to the superintendent, you need to give us more time to review this kind of stuff before you bring it in, and we got to vote on it. And you've already been making public announcements, and this stuff is out there, and the board has not reviewed it. So he was the only board member that basically just said, when it was time to vote for her reorganization plan, he simply said present, not in support or against it. And I understood what he was saying, which is like, you making major moves. Not saying these moves are not necessary or needed or welcomed. But as the school board, we need better time for oversight and to understand what some of these changes look like. He talked about potential unintended consequences of some of these changes. And so she acknowledged, the superintendent, that was a lesson learned. I'm sorry, again, and y'all know I'm still trying to get my bearings on Casilius. To me, if these are the people that supervise you in terms of the board, before I start talking about major cuts, I'm having that conversation. Now, she may have had it with individual board members, but in terms of the full board, do things proper and in order, man. And so MTEA was all in a bunch a couple of days ago when they announced that they were cutting a bunch of positions that were going to impact teachers. And then, now a lot of administrators, they losing their jobs. But you also find out that, like, she's going to make sure they got a chief operations officer and a number of positions that have been vacant for 3 years in some cases that were never filled by the previous administration. So, there's a lot to talk about with what's going on. This is a prime time for people to pay attention to what's happening. She talks about expecting to save $4 to $5 million from these cuts to the academic office, and that the administrative changes, she said, would be cost neutral. But MTA, again, the Teachers Education Association, they was hot that, they got teachers that's getting ready to be impacted by these cuts. Other folks welcomed it. So we have 5 regional superintendents in MPS. She's doing away with that model. We will now have, I think it was like 6 superintendents that will focus on elementary schools, and 2 are going to focus on high schools. She talked about distributing, these schools in a way so that one region doesn't have all of these underperforming schools or so much work to do in relationship to how these schools are operating in their respective regions. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in. It's an extremely long article that lays out all of the different plans that she has for the district. But the one thing I will say, the proposal included moving the legislative policy manager, Chris Steele, to report directly to her. Currently, his position is a part of the Office of Board Governance, which serves the board. Board members voted to keep that position in the Office of Board Governance until there could be further discussion. You think about that. And see, that's why I said they got to pay attention to the way this lady is moving. Personally, I think that our current legislative manager, Chris Steele, leaves a lot to be desired. Like a whole hell lot in terms of the way he advocates at the state level for MPS. A whole lot to be desired. Like ought to be let go, in my opinion. Because you're nothing. The whole time I was there, it was a whole bunch of nothing, and talking primarily to Republicans because that's who was in power, and only tapping Democrats when you didn't have nowhere else to go, would be in the building and you wouldn't even know him and different superintendents were even in the building. Like, he need to be let go. And then we had, and he was killed in the auto accident, Caesar Stinson worked in that division part-time, and so, yeah, they need a different lobbyist at MPS. That's just my opinion. But the fact that she thought that she would take a position that reports to the board and reassign that person to report directly to her lets you know that Brenda Casilius don't have a damn clue about how this stuff functions. The people that hired you, that supervise you, you're going to take away somebody who directly reports to them without talking to them first? Without running that by them first? See, you can be overzealous in doing your job, but if you don't understand the politics of doing your job, you're going to have a problem. So you making massive cuts, informing them afterwards and going to them to ask for approval. You taking away a position that reports directly to the school board and puts them under your charge. Hey, babe, somebody better teach you how to play the game. Because while they going along because you're their hire and they don't want to look like fools in public, behind closed doors, I can hear some of the MPS school board members like, slow your roll, chick, and understand process. You don't jump out here with major announcements and we not at the table and have approved it and are on board. You don't do it first or put it in the atmosphere first and then come holler at us later about approval. Not ready for prime time. Not ready for prime time. I don't care what nobody say. I got to take a break. But I'm not rooting for this woman to fail. But I'm not naive to what I see are concerns. You better learn how to play this game. You better learn how they're going to turn on you quickly. You better learn how to play the game. I got to take a break. I'll be right back.
AURN News.
I'm Jamie Jackson. Spirit Airlines is adding a new option for passengers looking for a more comfortable flying experience. The low-cost carrier announced this week that it's introducing Go Comfy, a new seating upgrade that includes extra legroom and several added perks. The seats will be located in 7 rows near the front of the plane and are available for purchase starting this week. Installation begins in June, and Spirit says the entire fleet will be updated with those seats by July. Now, in addition to more space, the airline says Go Comfy includes a carry-on bag, no change or cancellation fees, priority boarding and reserved overhead bin space. Passengers will also get a snack and non-alcoholic drink during the flight. Now, the move comes as budget carriers look for new ways to appeal to travelers who want to save money but are willing to pay a little more for the added comfort. For AURA News, I'm Jamie Jackson.
Something Real with your host, Michelle Bryant on WNOV.
All right, family, welcome back to the show. So let me take a minute. A lot of people were getting alerts on their phones yesterday. If you keep up with the news in that way, that there had been an indictment of Milwaukee Judge Hannah Dugan. And 4 folks at the Journal Sentinel came together to do an article about it this morning. Mary Spicuzza, John Dietrich, Messy Boots, Dan Bice, and Vanessa Swales. And Dan Bice got the Messy Boots name from Keisha. when he came after her in his column, she started calling them Messy Boots. Oh my God. But anyway, so I'm gonna take it directly from the article. Grand jury indicted Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan yesterday after a day-long, and I'm gonna paraphrase where appropriate. After a day-long hearing on charges she tried to help an undocumented immigrant escape arrest last month. So Hannah Dugan is 66 years old, and in the 2-page indictment, they basically say she obstructed a U.S. agency and concealed an individual to prevent an arrest. 2 charges that carry a maximum penalty of 6 years in prison and a $350,000 fine. So it's kind of interesting, but because this article doesn't say up to a $350,000 fine, it says 6 years in prison and a $350,000 fine. But because she doesn't have a record, she's not, a violent offender. If she were convicted, she definitely wouldn't be looking at all of that time, nor that, exorbitant amount of money, most likely. But in terms of the details, remember that this indictment comes after a string of witnesses entered the federal courthouse in downtown Milwaukee yesterday to testify before a grand jury. Those who gave testimony included Alan Freed Jr., Dugan's court clerk, Mercedes De La Rosa, the attorney for Eduardo Flores Ruiz, and the undocumented immigrant in the case. And De La Rosa has withdrawn from his case since everything happened. There were other folks that were called in. Judge Cervera, I think that's how you pronounce her name, a misdemeanor judge whose courtroom was next to Dugan. So she had to come in. The grand jury consisted of about 20 people. They got impaneled at 9 a.m. They returned an indictment against Hannah Dugan around 5:15 p.m. The vote by the grand jury was not disclosed, which is typical, but they had the number of jurors that I think they only had to have 12 that agreed that she should be indicted. The indictment accuses her of leaving her courtroom and confronting the 6-member U.S. or ICE arrest team in the hallway and, quote, falsely telling them that they needed a judicial warrant, not administrative one, to take Flores Ruiz into custody. Now, remember when Mark Thompson, who does the Scales of Justice segment with me, was in on Monday, and I asked him in Wisconsin, because in some states, like New York was one that was cited in a lot of articles I read, you have to have a warrant issued by a judge, a judicial warrant, to be able to effect an ICE arrest. In other states, you just can have an administrative warrant. So any administrator with ICE or Homeland Security or whatever can issue this warrant. Some states require it to be done by a judge. I asked the question of Mark Thompson when he was here, is Wisconsin a state that spells it out? I don't think we got a clear answer that yes, you have to have a judicial warrant, or no, you don't have to have that. You can have just administrative. And, I'm going to say again, we need to be clear on that as members of the community. I think the judges, if Judge Ashley and them have not gotten to the bottom of that question for people, to make sure that these judges know an administrative warrant suffices in Wisconsin, or they need a judicial warrant. I'm still not clear on which is required. So the criminal complaint says that the judge The criminal complaint says it was Severa, her fellow misdemeanor judge, who took the group to Ashley's office to talk to Ashley by phone about their plans. This was the ICE agents. Dugan is accused of telling Flores Ruiz and his attorney that he could appear by Zoom for his next court date. So again, trying to make sure he's not in the court. If ICE were to, if ICE hadn't been successful in apprehending him, they could have, missed another opportunity because she said he could appear by Zoom. But he was actually taken into custody. We know that they ended up figuring out what was happening. He was getting out of the building and they apprehended him outside. So Hannah Dugan is going to be back in front of the court again tomorrow for a plea hearing. Members of her defense team issued a statement that said, quote, as she said after her unnecessary arrest, Judge Dugan asserts her innocence and looks forward to being vindicated in court. They already know who's going to be the trial judge, which is Judge Lynn Edelman. And so we will wait. We will wait to see how this whole thing unfolds and what's going to happen. But it caught a lot of buzz and attention yesterday. And people, on some level are concerned, but there are some people that feels like she's going to be fine. The one thing I will tell you is that with the current administration, federal administration, everything that they can do to put Hannah Dugan under the jail is going to happen. Everything. And trying to get some of those questions. I was getting some information. Administrative warrant, no probable cause needed. A judicial warrant requires review and probable cause by a judge. So again, though, I'm still asking the question, in Wisconsin, what suffices? What do we need? What do the judges need to understand in courthouses around this state? Is a judicial warrant required in Wisconsin, or will an administrative warrant suffice? Which one is it? I'm still not getting a clear answer from anybody on that question yet. And I don't understand why. Yes.
I heard in an article yesterday, I believe it was, that she directed ICE to go to the chief judge's office, and while they were gone, she then showed them, supposedly. So maybe she wasn't clear either, but thought that they should go to him to be certain, because there is some gray area, I guess, with that.
Well, no, I mean, she did say to them that she didn't believe they had basically a warrant to be able to take this guy into custody. So another judge escorts them to an area where they can go talk to Chief Judge Ashley via phone about, what they're doing. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, it seems like Judge Dugan goes back to her courtroom and is facilitating moving this defendant around and letting him exit through a door that's not commonly used by the public or defendants.
But it took him to a public area.
But this is the thing. That door in the studio is not supposed to be used by the public unless you come into the studio. Mm-hmm. Even though it leads to a public area, there are rules about that door. Mm-hmm. And so you can't jump over and say, but it went to a public area if this was a route and exit that normally wouldn't have been used by a defendant. I mean, like, you just can't get around it. People want to jump to, but the hallway was good and clear. He made it to the hallway, but the route he used to get to the hallway basically was illegal because it's not a route that you typically would have used. You did it in furtherance of stopping ICE from being able to arrest him. And again, I want to be clear. I'm cool with civil disobedience. Mm-hmm. I'm cool with fighting against laws that you don't believe in. But what I also am is then understanding that I got to deal with the consequences of civil disobedience, the consequences of standing up to unjust laws or things that I don't understand. Martin Luther King them understood, John Lewis and everybody that participated in the civil rights movement. It was illegal for Black folks to sit at these lunch counters. There were laws put in place about segregated public spaces. So when they went in and sat at the lunch counters, and when they went and sat on those buses, they knew they were breaking the law. But they was okay with that. Let's go to jail. Let's ride. Don't break the law and act like you wasn't breaking the damn law. That's all I'm saying. If you're going to be a G, be a G. I didn't agree with you. So crazy. Jermaine hit throwing up gang signs. But if you're going to be a G, be a G. King them was like, these laws are unjust and we breaking them. I got to go to jail. Let's go. Well, you got my bail money put up. Hannah Dugan potentially breaks the law, but then wants to say, I didn't break the law. But you did. Because you impeded ICE from being able to arrest this dude. And then goes a step further to say, and next time, come back. I mean, you don't even have to come in the courtroom. You just deal with your situation via Zoom. But get an understanding. I said that to Mark Thompson when he was here. Be strategic about what you're doing. Because Hannah Dugan is no good to anybody right now. Hell, she fighting for her own life right now. There's a way to advocate and help people, particularly in a role as important as a judge, but understand the law first. She made a move without fully understanding the law, in my opinion. Was an administrative warrant enough for them to be able to arrest this dude in the courthouse, out in the public open area? Was it enough? And there have been other arrests executed. They just had one. It was either yesterday. What's today? Wednesday? It was either yesterday or Monday. It was in the paper. And another judge had a person come before them who was accused of sexual assault of an adult woman and a 14-year-old child. Yeah, the restaurant owner. And ICE took him into custody. And the judge in that case said, yeah, all that's cool. But the people that he assaulted, they deserve their day in court. They deserve to have this process play out and get justice. We have victims' rights in Wisconsin. So y'all gonna need to have him appear via Zoom for his one little hearing, and then he gonna need to stay in Wisconsin. So they got him up in Juneau County right now, but he's gonna need to stay in Wisconsin because the people of Wisconsin who were victimized by this individual deserve to have their day in court. That was the point that Mark Thompson was making about it interfering with the process. So you raped a 14-year-old child, and I'm just saying allegedly, if that's the case that's been presented against him, if you raped a 14-year-old child, you can just be deported and never have to stand trial for what you did here. So that victim and that victim's family is just walking around like, well, damn. We don't get no justice. And some people will be like, well, getting deported is justice. No, because are you getting deported to a prison or are you getting deported just to go back to Mexico and dropped off and you're free to go about your business? So folks are arguing, you got to allow these people to go through the process that they are in court for before ICE starts trying to grab these people up. So a lot on the table. We will see what, tomorrow brings. And remember, Mark Thompson mentioned that there was going to be a group of people gathering outside of the federal courthouse tomorrow in support of Hannah Dugan. I'm not sure what time they're going to get down there, but, court typically opens at 9. So if that is something that you are interested in or you believe you would like to support, just know. Somebody asked, had I spoken about AG Tish James yet? No, I haven't. Because I don't know what I want to say. I haven't. Because Tish James, who is the Attorney General in the state of New York, who has been very, very, hard line when it comes to Donald Trump. They have had back and forth on social media. She successfully continued the prosecution of Trump on some fraud charges. And now the Trump administration, the FBI, U.S. Attorney are looking into Letitia James for alleged mortgage fraud. In addition to mortgage fraud, they were saying that she is claiming a house that she has in another state as her primary residence, but you're the attorney general of the state of New York, which means you're supposed to reside primarily in New York. So which one is it? I brought it up briefly one day, but I didn't get into the details because I remember, saying that, look, folks gonna come for you. Make sure your stuff is in order. That's all I can say. Folks are going to come for you. So what you gonna, so I don't know, because I don't know enough of the details. Is your residence in another state or not? I don't know. So at this point, I just haven't had a lot to say. But it looks like she's gonna have a real problem on her hand, though, y'all. So let me see if I can see exactly which state was it? She. I'm trying to see which state it is. Norfolk, Virginia. A specific power of attorney document signed by James on August 17, 2023 shows her intent to change her residence to Norfolk, Virginia. The Attorney General authorized her relative, Sharnice Thompson Hairston, to act on her behalf. Okay? But she is the AG in New York. So how can you have a document saying that you intend to change your residence to Norfolk, Virginia? I don't think being the Attorney General of the state of New York is a hybrid position. This ain't, you can live here and come into the state 3 days a week. That's not how this go. So I'm just not saying a whole lot right now, because the details that we're seeing, and they got documents, don't bode well for Letitia James. And I just know you ain't this stupid. So I'm holding out hope that you got a robust defense against what these folks are saying you did. I'm holding out hope. But right now, nah, I ain't got a whole bunch to say, because until I get more details, it sounds janky. It sounds very, very janky. I want to take a quick second and comment on, and y'all, I'm just trying to roll through these stories before my guest comes, because there were just some things that we needed to deal with. But again, there was a story in the paper, a question that was raised on the show yesterday about the house fires and what are the responsibilities of the state, the city, elected officials, local governments, in looking at these facilities that don't have sprinklers and being grandfathered in a way that, people potentially, are dying, can die. And Robin Voss, and I got to go read the story. I just saw the headline. Robin Voss was like, yeah, the state probably not going to do nothing about that. So we just were having this conversation and asked this question yesterday about the state passing legislation that would speak to these sprinkler systems. And you got the leader of the Republican Party in the assembly being asked the question. And I'm looking forward to see if I can open it real quick. And he's like, yeah, pretty much no. We don't. Oh, somebody said Robin Voss owns property. Yes, he does. How old is his property? I don't know, but yeah, he's always been one of those people when we've had landlord, property owner cases. And thanks for reminding me of that. Property owner cases. Robin Voss is never on the side of the tenants. Never, 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 never. I'm trying to find it. I don't see it. But while I'm doing it and I'm talking about housing, let me mention this real quick. Trump. People getting grants for housing, home ownership, different programs. They are calling this woke. And the Trump administration is calling for these spending cuts that are going to hit Milwaukee in a really harmful way. And, even though this happens in Milwaukee, it's going to happen across the state. And again, some of these very same people who voted for Donald Trump are getting ready to be behind out because of their vote. I will get into some of the specifics of that. I'm going to take a quick break. Jay, can I take a quick break? Yeah. I'm going to take a quick break and get ready to bring my guest in, Tony Kearney, in terms of the Juneteenth discussion. So let me do that. And then once I finish up with Tony Kearney, I'll circle back and hit up these other topics on what we're experiencing right now. Be right back, y'all.
Now, back to Say Something Real with your host, Michelle Bryant on WNOV.
All right, folks, welcome back. So let me do this. I'm waiting on my guest, one of the other guests to arrive. So in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and touch real quickly on a story regarding how the Trump cuts are impacting the city of Milwaukee, the state overall. So there's an article, again, the Journal Sentinel just own it in terms of helping us to understand its information. Trump had announced that in his proposed budget, 2026 budget, that he wants to cut $163 billion in non-military programs. That is about a 22% reduction from what we currently spend, okay? Milwaukee Mayor Johnson and the county exec Crawley have said that this is a problem. Johnson said in a statement, cuts such as the proposed will devastate some of our most vulnerable residents, including children. We have used these funds to address social problems and help residents achieve self-sufficiency. Without this money, I fear our city will see greater poverty, increased hopelessness, and diminishing public safety. Crawley, in his statement, said the federal funding is critical for Milwaukee County to provide the supportive services that residents, families, and children rely on. But when you look more specifically, how does the federal funding reach Milwaukee County? Federal money flows into the city and the county via direct grants or by passing through the state or other entities that distribute these funds. For example, Milwaukee County receives federal transit aid, which is an annual allocation that comes directly from the feds. Similarly, the city and the county both have a history of applying for federal grant funding, including for health services and public works. Both governments have a reliance on this money, and they are saying that these programs are going to be impacted if they are unable, to continue to get this assistance. So how much of what is happening affects our bottom line? The total figure isn't known yet, but city officials are saying that we could lose about $20 million if Trump's plan were to go into effect. The amount of things that are impacted or eliminated: community development block grants, so CDBG grants, aimed at developing viable urban communities through affordable housing, suitable living environments, and expanding economic opportunities for low and moderate income people. Home grants for the creation of affordable housing for low income households. So again, for the folks that supporting Trump administration, we know that the Black community in particular has still been on the ropes coming off of the 2008 housing crisis. We've never recovered in the way that other groups have recovered. So there have been programs put in place to try to deal with that. And not because we were irresponsible, but because there was a ton of predatory lending that went on that targeted Black homeowners, that specifically came after Black homeowners. And when everything went belly up, we got hit the hardest. Donald Trump is saying that CDBG grants are woke. How can you have a program that helps Black people? How can you have a program that helps underserved, marginalized communities? How can you have a program that seeks to provide some redress for people who were targeted and taken advantage of? And we can do this over and over again. David Crawley said the county receives more than $100 million in annual funding grants that the Trump budget seeks to eliminate. $100 million. We just got done with the referendum. And, these people getting this additional money to try to just backfill some of the budget and get us through 2025. We knew that it still wasn't even enough for us to be good. Now you're talking about having all of these cuts come out. So my guests have arrived. I'm going to get them in, but let me just wrap this by saying areas that could see reductions. The low income home energy assistance program, which helps residents cover a portion of their energy bills. So energy assistance, the block grants, funds for anti-poverty programs, substance abuse and mental health services, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, providing support to elderly residents, low-income individuals, and the housing programs, the state rental assistance block grants, the home investment partnership programs, the homeless assistance program, consolidations, self-sufficiency programs. Do y'all understand? All of the things that tend to impact the people who have the least. That's who's being asked to take the hits. We're not taking from folks who can absorb and can handle some of these hits. We're taking it from people who already have very little or have nothing. Somebody said, Michelle, talk about the impacts of the tariffs. Talk about the impact of Trump's budget. So let me go out and get my guests. Jermaine, can you give me a quick little music? I'll get them situated. And then the next folks you'll hear from will be folks talking about Juneteenth and what we need to understand about the upcoming celebration. Be right back. Dude, how loud is that, man? What did you do?
Loud as a phone.
He only got one good arm, y'all.
Yeah, see, there you go.
I don't know what's going on.
One arm Willie.
So look, I said we had guests coming in the studio, but I don't really know how I feel about it now. Because one of the guests is just crunchy up here, like not smiling, looking like somebody stole his breakfast this morning. But he said they did. But let me start off by welcoming to the show none other than Tony Kearney over at Northcott Neighborhood. Is it Neighborhood House?
Neighborhood House.
And you're the executive director?
Yes.
Is that the correct title? Good morning, sir. How you doing this morning?
Good morning, Michelle. How are you?
I'm good. I'm liking the colors on the Adidas fit.
Well, great.
That's
Thanks.
a nice little combination. I might have to bite that. Okay. Like that. Don't smile. Don't smile up in here. I'm not talking to Tony. I'm not talking to Tony.
Now you know what I got to go through every
came in
day,
here
man.
starting me. So I said, and you know how you be handling people. Tony brought with him trouble. Would you like to introduce yourself to the community?
Good morning, good people. Jamar Wills, Boys and Girls Club of Greater Milwaukee.
You working with the kids acting like that?
Say, man, then we gonna link up, man. Hey, man, we gonna link up on this thing. What you say, Debo?
Also serve as the co-chair of the Teen Zone for Juneteenth Planning Committee.
Oh yeah, they got you over the kids. I see why. Because the kids see you and be like, do not play with him. Because you will be in trouble. Do not play. Look, we are getting ready. I can't believe that Juneteenth is just a little over 30 days away. Yeah. This time, you know, I was just shoveling snow. And we are now talking about the kickoff to basically the summer. We know Memorial Day starts that, but in terms of celebrations and festivals, Juneteenth is always first out the gate. So Tony, talk a little bit about the importance and the significance, and particularly, I was looking at other states around the country because of attacks on DEI in New York City. They have pulled back Juneteenth celebrations that were city sponsored or connected to bigger venues. There have been places, Pride Fest has also gone by the wayside because it happens in the month of June. And so I was actually stunned when I started just doing some cursory research last night just to see what Juneteenth celebrations were looking like around the nation, that DEI is impacting some of these things going forward. So how are we looking here in Milwaukee?
Well, Michelle, we're going to move beyond DEI. So Milwaukee's always had its Juneteenth celebration. So 54th annual, we're moving beyond that.
Every time you come here, I have to tell you about being on this table.
we have sponsors that support us no matter what. We have over 400 vendors this year. 400? We currently have 72 brand new vendors.
What?
So
that's
last
crazy.
year we had 473 vendors, and this year we have 472. I mean, we have 72 new ones. So we haven't heard from everyone who was a vendor last year. We have one vendor that comes from Ohio who came last year just because he heard about it. He came and he sent us back a donation. He said, hey, this is wonderful. I made a lot of money. He sent us back a donation. So this year he has submitted his vendor application and he sent a donation along with it. So most people get it, that this celebration is history. This isn't DEI. You can't DEI history.
Right.
Juneteenth happened. Slavery happened. So we are focusing on doing what we always do, producing the best Juneteenth Day celebration in the country, along with the associated activities, the Juneteenth pageant, the Freedom Ball. We're going to continue to do that. And we have sponsors who recognize that it is history and not DEI.
So let's talk about it. You know, I've been seeing already your media partner. If you go to certain things on their websites, you can see the it looks like the logo or just some information letting us know Juneteenth is coming. The parade is televised. That was a major accomplishment, getting that partnership in that way. Can you talk a little bit about that for a sec?
Well, TMJ4 decided several years ago that they wanted to be more community oriented. So the station manager, Joe Poss, came to one of our meetings, listened to what we were trying to do, and said, yeah, I'm in. And my Juneteenth planning committee, I said, okay, if you're going to be in, you got to be on the planning committee so that you're dealing with this step by step. Nicole Buckley, the editorial director, is on the parade committee and works with them to make sure that we got this step off from Atkinson correct, that we have the ability to tell them who's there.
Okay.
So they're going to know that, hey, this is WNOV passing the boom camera. So it takes a little more time. Our folks feel like it's a hassle, but if you want to get in front of that camera and people know who you are, you got to put up with the little hassle of going to the meetings that we ask you to come to and filling out the information so that we can correctly articulate who you are. And, so Channel 4 started first year in 19, just televising part of the parade.
Right.
Because the Open was happening here at the time, so they had to break away to the golf game. But since then, the parade has been fully televised. Last year we got WITI. Bill Chappie from WITI wanted to be involved, so they're actively involved on the committee. Mary Stroker Smith was the MC for the pageant. So people see. So we've got more folks involved. However, let me not be remiss in saying that WNOV has always been the one who's put out Juneteenth and talked to us about what Juneteenth is, to let the city know what Juneteenth is doing. So you were first.
So speaking of what Juneteenth is doing, I want to be able to hear about the different activities, if there's anything new happening this year. But one of the things that always, gives people concern, pause, and or excitement is what we do in terms of our young people, getting them to be a part of everything, helping them appreciate, historically what's happening around them. And so, Jamar, in your role in the Teen Zone, what does that look like? What is the vision for that?
We want to continue to push the importance of education centered around Juneteenth and the celebration, not only historically, but on a national level, but also the importance and significance of the celebration here in Milwaukee, 54 years, the second longest Juneteenth celebration in the country. And that we understand that isn't being taught. And we want that to be a significant portion of what we present to young people, also in the part of inclusion in the celebration on the celebration grounds.
And so activities for young people who are there like, look, what am I coming down there for? What you got for them?
So this year we've been very intentional in our planning, the inclusion of resources in the Teen Zone. The Teen Zone is identified the playground portion and baseball field of Clinton Ross Park. This year we'll have the city workforce development department on site. St. Charles will be on site. Milwaukee Christian Center will also be on site. We also reached out to a Black anime group to include them. Young people are very intrigued by anime these days. We'll have a basketball portion, a two-ball challenge, skills challenge, and then other activities to engage them. We have local social media influencer Myron Jewell will be emceeing, and that's going to be, if y'all know who Myron is, y'all know how engaging he is and what he'll bring to the table. And then DJ Nick Stokes will be DJing in the Teen Zone.
Okay. So in terms of, grown folks, we looking for stuff to do. The Freedom Ball is always one of those faves. Juneteenth pageant, are all those things still in play, Tony?
Yes. This year, the pageant has the largest number of participants in the history of the pageant.
Really?
And also this year, if you look at the Juneteenth website,
cool.
There's a call for former Miss Juneteenth, because our goal is to create an alumni association of the Juneteenth participants that can help support Miss Juneteenth throughout her years in college, and ultimately she would become a member of that. So Miss Juneteenth should never be looking for an internship, because we have a lot of very, very, very successful Miss Juneteenths out here.
So has the pageant portion happened yet, or when?
No, the pageant will happen on June 7th at Martin Luther King Center.
So young ladies that are interested in that,
It is
what's
young-
the age range and what do they
14,
do?
14 to 19 for Miss Juneteenth. We have Little Miss Juneteenth, Little Mr. Juneteenth,
Okay.
and Mr. Juneteenth. So the pageant application has closed, and they're actually doing their rehearsals every Thursday at Northcott. So they're getting ready to do their thing. And as I said, we have the largest number of participants in the history of the pageant.
So what about the Freedom Ball?
The Freedom Ball is at Harley again this year on June 13th. It's also on the website. We are the Freedom Ball is really our opportunity to introduce Miss Juneteenth. So that's the first time she's gonna publicly be seen outside of the press conference.
Okay.
So we'll be looking to ensure that the Freedom Ball is what it always is. We give out some awards at the Freedom Ball, Father of the Year, Volunteer of the Year, and the Joe Winston Community Commitment Award, which goes to a non-African American. Now, when I started this award, folks ate me up. But it's like, okay, remember the Underground Railroad, right? There
So
was
it's
some
like an
conscious
ally
right
type
there.
of an award?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
And I'm gonna just say this, I got you. We got to also be realistic too, and this is the uncomfortable part of some of these conversations. I mention it every festival season. When I did African World Festival, we had I was out in DC, and we had people coming up to our, because we were a vendor at Congressional Black Caucus, and we had people coming up to our table saying, "Who runs y'all festival?" And I'm like, "What you talking about? We do."
Right.
No, I mean, who? Because they were saying non-Black people in other cities have traditionally now been running these festivals. But one of the things I tell people all the time is it takes money to put these festivals on, y'all.
Oh, yes.
And a lot of times we're not the only ones paying for it. We got volunteer, we got sweat equity, but the money that sometimes it takes to pull some of these things off, there have been people that have stepped up. And I don't know how you take money and take help and not acknowledge people. You got to be willing to do that. And to your point, we are able to escape in part on the Underground Railroad because people put things in place as allies to help us along the way.
So, for us, one of our sponsors that I really, really respect is Dan Bader. Because, Dan moved his foundation into the hood. Greater Milwaukee has come now, but Dan moved from downtown down in the hood and made it a point to support what is going on in the African American community. So Bader was our sponsor of the decade. They're actually our largest sponsor.
So let me do this real quick. And as I see y'all, we gotta take a break. We're gonna try to get everything in. But one of the fears that the Black community has, whenever other folks outside of the Black community come in, that they end up taking over stuff. That it's not ours. It changes the look of things. There had been conversations about stuff that was going on at Summerfest grounds that's happening on Juneteenth Day too. So I'm getting calls, Michelle, is Summerfest taking over Juneteenth? Are they messing us up? What's happening? What's going on? Right. And so can you speak to any of that?
Yeah. So Juneteenth happens on Juneteenth. No matter what day of the week it happens to be.
Right.
Summerfest has gone to this 3-weekend format, which caused them to land on Juneteenth. So for the next 3 years, Summerfest will be occurring during Juneteenth. So we're in a scenario either we ignore them or we look at how we can support each other. If I can get more people coming to Milwaukee because they also want to go to Summerfest, that's a positive thing for us. However, Juneteenth is Juneteenth. It is always going to be on King Drive. It is always going to have the African American format. It is not just an African American holiday. It's an American holiday. It has always been an American holiday. It's not DEI. It's an American holiday. It's about all of us. So we want everybody to come and see the best of the African American community. And no one's going to dictate what Juneteenth is. It belongs to the community.
Well, I will just say this, and I got to take a break, but I know my home state, Alabama, this year, for the first time, they have now made Juneteenth an official state holiday.
Mm-hmm.
To that point about being an American holiday or American celebration and observation. You know, it's 2025. And Alabama took forever and a day to get here, but Governor Kay Ivey, they just signed this. They finally made it. So let me do this. Let me take a quick break. Got callers. I see y'all. And we'll get as much information as we can to you about Juneteenth. Some people might be saying 472 vendors. Is there still room for me? Or how many volunteers are needed to pull off something this size? And, you know, Jamar, the kids look like they're going to be scared of you.
Get him, Jack. Get him, bro.
They look all crazy.
Something Real with your host, Michelle Bryant on WNOV.
Hey, family, welcome back to the show. It's Michelle.
Don't say nothing too real,
It's Michelle Bryant here at WNOV 860 AM 106.5 FM. Before we went to break, had some callers on the line. Let's get them in real quick. Hey, caller, what's happening? Hello? Yes.
Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning.
Oh, I was wondering, what is the hours for Juneteenth this year?
Okay. Let's get that answer for you. 9 to 4. Okay.
Well, ain't that kind of unfair to the people that work 9 to 5?
Is it unfair to?
No, we're not dealing with that.
Did you hear his response? Say it again, Tony.
What did he say?
I said that Juneteenth is a national holiday, and we're going to do 9 to 4. We've done 9 to 4 for the past 6 years.
Yeah, when Juneteenth first started, it went to midnight.
Yes,
it
it
went
did.
all the way
It was
to
much
midnight.
safe. It was much safer. Also, so to deal with the safety of the 50 to 70,000 people, we're going to do it 9 to 4. That was a decision we made, and it's worked fine for us. We're going to continue to do that.
Okay.
So, the one thing, yeah, and thank you, bro, for the call. I appreciate it. You know, I've had that conversation with people before. The one thing I tell folks is that because we know Juneteenth happens at the same time every year, that to the extent that we have flexibility to take a vacation day, a personal day, to be able to get off, to celebrate with folks. I'm not asking nobody to miss money. So if there's a way to do it, that it's I got 2 weeks of vacation. I got a week of vacation. One of my vacation days, because everybody does not work for an organization that honestly respects Juneteenth, gives people that day off. So you may have to take it off. But because I know it's coming, when I'm building out my vacation plan, I'm including Juneteenth in that. Got another caller. Let's get them in. Hey, caller, what's happening?
Good morning, Michelle. This is Angela.
Hey, Angela, how you doing this morning?
I'm blessed. And yourself?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good morning, Mr. Devo.
He's not in the studio.
Oh, Mr. Ride Out?
He said good morning.
Okay. So we playing like that now. Okay, but anyway, Mr. Michelle, the man that's still with Juneteenth, when y'all had a guy named Frank on there or someone by that name, I have signed up to volunteer, and I haven't heard from that man since.
Okay, let Tony address that. Thanks, Angela. We'll get your answer.
If you signed up to volunteer, Mr. Harris should be getting to you, but you can also send that application to Northcott.
So he just took my name down and my phone number and told me I was the very first one to sign up to volunteer, but I never got no application or anything.
The
I haven't heard from him
is online. The application is
okay,
online.
but he never, excuse me, not trying to cut you off, but he never said any of that to me, is what I'm explaining to you.
I understand that, ma'am. I'm telling you that the application is online, and absent filling it out online, you can come down to Northcott and fill out an application and hand it to us.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Angela. Appreciate it. Got another
All
caller.
right. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Got another caller on the line. Hey, caller, what's happening? Hello? All right, we're going to miss them. All right, I'm getting some text messages. Jermaine also received them. Somebody said, ask how to purchase individual tickets to the Freedom Ball. I only see the sponsorship info for tables.
We have 35 tables. So our focus is on tables. So folks can come together if they want and purchase a table, but we are dealing with the tables.
Okay, so because we had a little bit of this conversation during the commercial break. Why tables only? I mean, if I want to buy an individual ticket, I can buy an individual ticket to the Freedom Ball. I mean, to Urban League, to NAACP Freedom Fund dinner. I may not have 9 folks that I can hook up with to be able to secure a table.
I understand that, and that's going to be unfortunate. But I've got a bunch of balls in the air. Juneteenth, the pageant. We're doing all of this stuff at once. The concert series. So we don't have the wherewithal to deal with 350 people. It's easier for us to deal with 35 people.
So I'm gonna just tell you right now, and I said this during the break, I take exception with that. Quite frankly, I'm gonna be real more candid. I think that's BS. That I can't buy an individual ticket to come to the Freedom Ball. That I gotta find 8, 9 other people, you know, and I don't know how much the tables cost, but if the tickets, how much is the table?
2,000.
A table is $2,000.
Yeah.
So how many people can sit at a table?
10.
So basically $200.
Yes.
That's a hefty ticket.
Yes.
So now I got to find 8, 9 other friends who got $200 to be able to go in with me to get a table. If I can't find that, then my 200 is just not going to get spent because I don't have 8, 9 friends to go in with me to get a table at $200 each. So I missed the opportunity to come in because I don't have 8 or 9 people to go in with me.
I agree with you that it is going to cause some people to not be able to attend. However, I still have to deal with how I get this done. So remember the dollars from the Freedom Ball go to scholarships. So if I'm sitting there waiting on people to buy those seats, I'm cutting the amount of scholarships.
But even if I do 35 tables, if I leave 2 of those 35 tables for individual ticket purchasers or 1 table for individual ticket purchasers, I'm still able to fill that table. I'm just saying, dude, I don't know that you appreciate how hard it could be for everyday lay people. A lot of people in our listening audience to find 9 friends to say, you got 200 on the ticket so we could each be able to have a table. But I missed the opportunity to come. And I'm going to be honest. It's a lot of people around here tell you, I don't have 9 friends like that can drop that kind of bread to be able to come to this.
Well, Michelle,
that's crazy to me, man.
That is sad that we don't have the 9 people that we can go to.
That's not sad. That's life. If I ask all of y'all right now, how many of y'all got 9 homies, 9 besties, 9 cats that if something go on, they my man, they my chick, ride or die. A lot of people don't have 9 friends like that. So I got to go out here and try to beg, borrow, push, pride for you to be able to get go to the ball.
And I'm beg, borrowing, pushing, prodding to get there to even be a ball that is going to create scholarship funds. So I get it. Okay, I get it. But I'm in a scenario where, what do I do? Do I try to accommodate people, or I try to make sure that I generate these scholarships for these children?
I'm going to say it again. 1 table could have been set aside for single ticket holders. 1 table out of 35. But that's okay. I'll move on. So y'all heard it. Y'all got to round up some friends so y'all can come to this event.
And I got something to say to you as soon as we get off the air.
You can say it right now.
No.
You ain't got no. You can say it right now.
No.
Because
no, this is a Tony Michelle thing.
Because this is a community thing. Because I know how hard it is for people in our community to scrape together this kind of bread. And then if I support all these different events, I'm dropping a lot of money. And I'm asking other people to drop a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And, the amount of people that won't get to come because I can't find 9 other people to go in with me on the table, man. Michelle, so I got it. I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on.
Michelle.
But
Michelle, no, I'll tell you what. You, from your listening audience, you find 9 people that want to go.
How is that any different from what I just said?
Yeah, well, you find you have callers right now, right? If they're 9 of them, they want to go. Okay, we'll facilitate making that happen. All right. But so what we're not gonna do, because we do not have the time, is to try to deal with 100 different people who are calling us trying to tell me what they want to do, when they want to do it. This is it. It's set. Okay. So I got to worry about those children getting those scholarships. That's my primary concern. That is the only reason for me to do this. Okay.
So
because I could do the awards from the main stage of Juneteenth.
Okay, so I'm gonna do this because I want to make sure that we get in everything else that people can look forward to. I see we got additional callers, but so we got Freedom Fund, we got Miss Juneteenth. Now I know, are you all pushing people down to the Summerfest grounds? Because it seems like
No,
is that a
no,
partnership at all?
That's a partnership. However, what we're looking at is, are there people that are going to come to Juneteenth that are going to plan their weekend?
Okay.
That I'm going to go to Juneteenth and I'm going to go to Summerfest.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm going to go to Summerfest and, oh, by the way, the Juneteenth festival is there. So we're working on how that looks. And this is a growing thing. The only thing that I can tell people that they can rest assured on is that Juneteenth remains on King Drive. Period. All of our activities remain on King Drive as we try to expand. And, this year we're going to participate in the opening ceremonies at Summerfest. So Miss Juneteenth will be on that stage. For me, that's a no-brainer. I get more exposure for the Juneteenth court. I want people to see them. I'm tired of people looking at, we got these kids that are out here stealing cars. I'm not going to name the group that they always throw out. We beat that to death. Well, no, we have these kids right here who are actually representative of who our children are. So look at them.
No, I mean, like you said, I think any opportunity to get additional exposure, to have people be able to see the best that our community has to offer, is you always take advantage of those things. And I know, though, when they first started talking about it, the loyalty from the community was real and immediate. I don't care what was happening at Summerfest. If it interferes with Juneteenth, we at Juneteenth. Right. It's always been a mainstay. So is there anything new coming this year or anything that we should be on the lookout for?
For what we're trying to do new, as you know, over the past years, we've been creating zones, as in teen zone, kid zone, senior zone, veteran zone. So this year we're going to have a Pan-African zone. So we're looking for folks from throughout the diaspora that want to participate. And we want to have that zone so you could go in and you can get your clothes, taste that food. So we want to put them all in one spot and have that zone always there. Just as we will always have kid zone and we'll always have veteran zone and we'll always have teen zone. We want to try to make sure that we're reaching out and touching everybody. 2 years ago, when Adobe Namuchi was selected as Miss Juneteenth, I had folks calling my office, cussing me out, telling me that the young lady was not African American. It's like, excuse me, this young lady is a straight A student, graduate of Rufus King High School, and is going to be a doctor. What does she have to be other than an American and Black to be an African American? So our folks can get off crazy.
That was different.
our folks can get off real crazy. I mean, they were killing our Facebook and everything. I mean, to the point of I had to involve MPD in some of these calls because they were threatening us because we're not honoring Juneteenth because of her being so.
Okay, that's really one of the saddest things I think I've heard.
Yeah, and to the point of I ended up putting security around her at Juneteenth.
But I mean, and that's, that's a conversation for another day, but it's one of those things, even when I did African World Festival and I wanted to be able to have, to the extent of what you're describing, a more international, global, Pan-African, kind of section in the festival, I got pushback from people even connected to the festival because it was about the celebration of Black folks. And I'm like, in America, and I'm like, that's not how this go, y'all. Like, that's literally not how this goes.
Right.
Because if it wasn't for them, there would be no us here.
Exactly.
You know, and so the fact that we are able to separate ourselves, us versus them, when this is a Black baby going right here to Rufus King High School, who we all would be proud of, you know. So okay, you messed me up with that one.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Miseducation of the Negro.
Miseducation of the Negro.
Exactly.
Yeah, that it's not us against them. So any opportunities left for anybody in terms of volunteering? I know Angela called. Any vendor spaces open? What's the deal?
Well, yes, there are still vendor spaces open, and we're still looking for volunteers. It takes about 500 volunteers to run Juneteenth.
Wow.
So the parade has 100 volunteers that are just dealing with what's happening on Atkinson. Then we have 300 volunteers that are dealing with just being courtesy ambassadors, being nice to the folks that are going to be able to tell me where Pop's Barbecue is, or where I can get some African garb, or, you know, where's Turkey Leg Jones at? That they're going to be able to look at their map and tell you that. So we need those folks. And lost kids. You know, hey, little Tony's lost. He goes to the office. That's put out to everybody, so everybody knows that we found little Tony and he's in the office. Kids Zone needs about 65 volunteers.
Is there an age limit on volunteers?
So
depending on which area?
Yeah. So we want volunteers that are 18 or older everywhere except Kids Zone.
Okay.
Kids Zone, we're looking at 14 and older.
Okay.
So the same kids that we would use at our day camps, we're looking for those kids to be in Kids Zone. Because Kids Zone has a carnival, it has rides, it has little games. So we need those kids to do those types of things.
So are people being directed to the website to volunteer, or can they call, or what should they do?
People are being directed to the website. However, you can call and we'll take your information. When you go to the website, you can do an online application, or you can print the application and fill it out.
Okay.
So that's for individuals or companies. So right now we have roughly 360 volunteers. We need 140 more.
So we got about what? Because is there a cutoff for the volunteers?
There's no cutoff.
In terms of the application process?
No. Well, there's a day that we're going to cut off. And that's June 9th right now.
Okay.
Because we have to start meeting with them. We have to give you the lay of the land.
Right. So that's why I'm saying we get in now,
yeah,
rather than waiting, you know, like, oh, I can just call on June 13th and say, I want to be a volunteer. We need you to get in.
No, we need you to get in early and to get the training, because the training involves law enforcement. So they'll be telling you how they're going to handle. That's their side. And unfortunately, in these days, you know, we have to have a large law enforcement contingent. So sheriff's deputies, police officers, 45 private securities officers. We just have to do that to keep it safe.
So let me bring Jamar in as we get ready to close. Jamar, how long have you been doing this with Kids Zone at the festival?
This is my second year as co-chair of the Teen Zone.
So best part about this, because, you know, I remember I was doing some stuff for Christmas, and Keon, I was got to be perfect, got to be this. And Keon got sick of me, and he was like, man, damn them kids.
That's how I like it. Yeah. That's how I like it.
But when we got done and he was helping deliver Christmas gifts, he was like, oh, okay, I see it. What's the best part about this? Why come back for people that are on the fence about volunteering?
It's our opportunity to give back for everybody who has a want or something to say. It's the opportunity. As a community, we are very siloed, and we have so much to say. and don't give of ourselves and are very critical. 54 years, it's still going on. Other, as you spoke to earlier, other cities are canceling, and this celebration is going forward. And for those who want to be a part, this contribution, your time, David Crawley speaks to time, talent, and treasure. This is the opportunity to contribute, and our community, our kids, our city needs our involvement.
So I'll just say this. Tony, you know, I'll never pull punches. I say whatever, you know, it crosses my mind. But the one thing I will not let this interview end with by not saying is how much I appreciate the work that goes into doing this, no matter what the criticisms, critiques, the fights, and the pushback is. Because one of the most devastating things in the world for me is when we lost African World Festival in the iteration that we knew. Not what people tried to resurrect, but what we knew it as. So don't ever confuse the questions, the pushback, the challenges for people not being grateful, though, because it's hard work. It takes a lot of money to get this stuff pulled off and bringing people to the table. And it's work that everybody say they want to do, but then they don't show up. So definitely hear that from me before you leave, as somebody who on some scale has sat in your shoes. It's a thankless job, many days. But I'll never forget when we brought African World Festival back in 2010, I was at the office working. I never came to the festival. And Mark Wade called me as Charlie Wilson was getting ready to take the stage at 9:30, 10 o'clock. He said, Michelle, and thank God our office was right at Grand Avenue Mall. He said, you have to come. Because I wasn't even coming. I just did the work. I wasn't even going. And when I got there, I went up on the stage and I looked out on that sea of black faces. Every sleepless night, every argument, every struggle, every worry session was worth it when I saw our community getting to enjoy themselves and celebrate us. So I just need to say thank you, in spite of the pushback, for what y'all are doing to make sure that this thing stays intact. I appreciate everybody that works with your team. Final words before we get out of here?
Final word, Milwaukee, the Juneteenth Day celebration belongs to you. It never leaves King Drive. It belongs to the community. And to the Juneteenth Planning Committee, I'm very proud of you guys for dedicating your time. Over the years, these people have stepped up and done this. It's Mr. Will's second time running the Teen Zone, because we just created Teen Zone. I'm looking to see what he's going to do 10 years from now.
Yeah, I need to come work on his team.
All
right, y'all. Over wrap the show. I want to thank none other than the executive director of Northcott Neighborhood House, Mr. Tony Kearney, and also brother Jamar Will over at the Boys and Girls Club. Scaring little kids. All right, y'all. Appreciate it. Ride out. D-Ball. All right, family. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Peace.